Welcome back. It's time for Customers Who Click. I've got another amazing D2C business on the podcast today as I'm talking with Serge Popovic, the Chief Marketing Officer at Crossrope. We're going to be talking through the biggest contributors to growth at Crossrope these last few years and the challenges they'll be facing over the next year. In particular, a challenge that a lot of e-commerce brands will be facing as well. Before we get started, if you've enjoyed the podcast, please do go rate it on iTunes. It's super helpful and helps the podcast reach more people. Let's hear from Serge now. Hi, Serge. Thanks for joining me today. Do you want to just really quickly introduce yourself, what you're up to these days?
Of course, yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the show. My name is Serge. I'm the CMO at Crossrope. We're a portable fitness brand. We've been in the space for about 8-9 years now. It's been a pretty wild and crazy growth over the last half decade. Last year in particular was a wild year. And so, yeah, I'm excited to chat about, what we've been up to.
Yeah, I can imagine the last year was pretty good for you, lockdowns and everything.
Yeah, I mean, considering everything, we've been super fortunate to be in a position where we're able to, really help people out and be there for those looking for a convenient and home workout. So yeah, it was a crazy year. 2021 feels almost crazier.
Yeah, it's surprising that this is being recorded in September already. Feels like this has been a quick year.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's honestly that October and Q4 are just around the corner. But here we are.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's jump into it. What do you think's been one of the biggest contributors to growth at Crossrope?
Yeah, growth. I mean, I think about three things. There are a lot of things, but three things in particular I think really were strong drivers for us. I think one would be partnering with the right affiliates and finding the right partners. So I mean that in two ways. So on the affiliate side, we've been very fortunate to just find some really fantastic content creators, YouTubers, et cetera, that are really bought into the brand, the lifestyle, and everything that we do. And they've really helped us, build awareness, get people jumping. The jump rope space is a very small little niche. So we've been fighting really hard to expand that and grow the jump rope fitness category. And affiliates have played a big part in that. And the other side on the partners is just we've been fortunate to partner with some amazing agencies over the years, and we've really leveraged their insights and know-how, and love when they're able to share what's working with other brands. So we've been able to really lean on those elements. I'd say building a community is another component to the growth formula for us. We were fortunate to really get started early in the whole private Facebook group element. And, one of our first growth strategies was running free fitness challenges. Through that, we've been able to build a community of about 100,000 members. And it's been fantastic, a tool for us and to really bring in new members, expose new members to the Crossrope brand, to the jump rope fitness lifestyle. And so that's been a great tool for us even to this day. And I'd say over the last couple of years, the third element to the growth formula has really been the investment in the creative side. Obviously today, creative is more and more important than it's ever been on the paid advertising side. We've been really laser focused on working with the right partners, the right content creators to really promote the jump rope fitness lifestyle and, test dozens and dozens and dozens of creatives along the way. So I'd say partnering with the right affiliates, building a community along the way, and really investing in creative have been contributors to growth for us.
Great, cool. Well, let's just explore each of those points a little bit. The affiliates side, do you find, have you guys had to really proactively go out and find these affiliates, or have you found that they're actually some of the best ones have kind of just naturally popped up?
Initially it was definitely the former. It was on us to go out there and find people. Again, in the early years, the jump rope fitness space was really small. So anytime you see anybody using a jump rope or your product, it makes it really easy to connect and get that relationship going. So that's how some of the first ones materialized and some of the best ones. Over the years, as we've grown and the jump rope fitness category has grown, a lot of them have been inbound as well. So we've established a lot of great relationships, and we like the inbound ones. I mean, that come for the right reasons. You got to put the right filtering mechanisms in place to make sure you're finding, affiliates and partners that are really invested and interested in seeing the category grow, not just your company or brand. So for us, it's been a mix, but more of the inbound over the past few years than we've had in the initial stages.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean about finding the right people, or filtering, making sure that you engage with the right people, because it can be quite tempting to accept anyone, right? Especially early on, they request to be an affiliate, and you might just be thinking, all right, cool, it's someone who's going to promote the brand.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. In the early days, it was, hey, anybody who we can get, we'll connect with and we'll try. It was a lot of experimentation, and even to this day, I mean, sometimes we've got our guidelines and guardrails in place from a filtering mechanism, but at the end of the day, you really don't know until you try. So whenever we come to new partnerships, there's always a vetting process and a testing process up front. Let's try one or a couple different campaigns together, or collaborations or sponsored videos, whatever it might be. We set our goals and targets, and then we just assess, hey, if there's something here and your audience really resonates with our brand, then we have next moves ready and available. And we're always interested in the long-term relationships far more than the short-term little pushes, right? But you got to start with those short-term ones to really find where those audiences resonate.
Yeah, and I suppose some of those short-term kind of quick wins might generate you some of those affiliates and partners who are going to do really well for you. Especially if it's social media, right? If you get someone who comes along, promotes it, but it doesn't do too well, there might still be someone who sees it and goes, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah.
I need to get on this.
Yeah, I mean, I come back. I come from an affiliate marketing background, like back in the day when before Crossrope. So that was a space I was very familiar with, but it's sort of evolved and changed over the years. So today, I mean, we've had far greater success with those that really buy into the brand, who are looking for who are playing the long game, and we can build a lasting relationship with. They really understand the product and the value propositions and how it fits into people's lives, and they can sell it the way we do. That's where we saw the best success. We've had some small to moderate success with the short-term plays, but it's just not comparable. And over the years, we just really decided to focus on the long-term partnerships, and that's where the vetting process really comes in handy. You got to know who you want to work with, So
yeah. And do these people tend to be kind of individuals, so like influencers, basically?
Yeah, over the years, I mean, as the influencer marketing space has grown, it's been, content creators, influencers, et cetera. But even in the early years, and maybe that's where we had a little bit of fortuitous luck, just being early in that space, working with content creators and partners, and really establishing lifelong partnerships to almost that have grown over the years that would be really difficult to replicate, I feel, in today's day and age.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, on the sort of Facebook side, so is this, do you use it to gather feedback and kind of crowdsource, feedback and ideas from the audience? Or is it more of a part of the service? It's something they get as being a customer, and it's more about giving value to them?
You're talking about the private Facebook group?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the private Facebook group, I mean, most brands I've seen, at least over the past couple of years, as Facebook groups have blown up, are using them for customers only. So you'll see VIP groups. They're a place to get exclusive offers, and you might the brand might ask for your input, on a new product design or products to roll out, et cetera. For us, we used our private Facebook group more of as an acquisition tool. So it's a mix of customers, prospects or people that are just interested in jump rope or jump rope fitness, or fitness in general, and have just been exposed to jumping rope for the first time. So the way like I mentioned earlier, we built that up is just offering, free fitness challenges, basic landing page, you sign up. And then as part of that, we had a place where you can go meet others who are participating in the same challenge. So you would go to the group, you join, and suddenly now you're meeting people from all across the world who are doing the same live event that you are. And when I say it's an acquisition tool, what I mean is that we've seen a tremendous amount of success by allowing or having new prospects exposed to our product by watching others use it. So that's really where it's been the greatest value for us. We don't need to convince you to buy. It's here's the value up front. You can use the challenge in any way you want. You can use whatever rope you want. It's still going to work. But if you want the best results, we suggest, a range of weighted ropes, which is what our product is. So now as a participant, you're watching hundreds, if not thousands of others using the product, and you get inspired, you get motivated, and it becomes really its own selling machine. So we know that, we're going to have, our conversions are going to be higher if we can get members into this community. They don't need to become a customer to become a member. It's free for everyone who's interested in jump rope fitness. But we know that by having them there, they can get motivated, inspired, and most importantly, see others using the product. And people love to be able to see, others using the product, different ways of using the product. It kind of gives them a feel of what it's like, especially for us. I mean, there's a very long consideration period because nobody knows what, weighted jump ropes are, what they feel like. We're not selling a pair of socks that are just a little different color, right? Where people know what socks are. So for us, there's a lot of education involved. And so the community sort of serves us the ability to showcase the product by having other customers using it. And so, that's how we use the community. It's really just how do we deliver a ton of value to people who are interested in this lifestyle and allow our existing customer base to, motivate and inspire those to try the product themselves.
Yeah, it's it's an incredible source of social proof, user-generated content.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And importantly, it's all in one place where these new customers, new prospects have actually decided to come to and join and check it out, right? It's not just seeing that one video on Instagram or something. It's they've made this decision to specifically join your Facebook group, and then they're seeing it and constantly seeing it.
Yeah. What's beautiful about it is it's very authentic, right? So you mentioned the UGC. It's basically just, a library of UGC. And, we jump in there, and obviously as a brand, we do announcements and we share some stuff, but really it's all about deliver value. We want to keep people in there. We want to keep them engaged. We want to make sure that they have everything that they need to succeed in whatever their fitness journey is. And hey, if along the way they want to experiment and try crossrope, it's a perfect opportunity. But really, it's just bring people there, deliver value, and it's worked out well.
Yeah, and then you kind of see the end result out of it, right?
Right. Well, then they become the customer who inspires the next prospect.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. And the third point, what was that, around testing creative?
Yeah, just really, really investing in creative. So in the earlier years, we were very, scrappy, I guess is the word. Not that we weren't investing in creative, but over the past few years, we made that decision to really set aside a good chunk of the marketing budget to, capture more footage, test new messaging angles, hooks, get a whole ton of footage, and served us really well because we went into 2020 with this massive library of creative that was available to us that we were able to chop and mix and match and really pop up messaging and different ads to speak to customers with everything that was going on last year. And that really was effective for us. We had some, for example, it was either the later stages of 2019 or early 2020, where it's like, hey, we need some home workout footage. This was well before, all the things with COVID happened. And then come early 2020, or March, April of 2020, we were suddenly like, everybody was sitting at home and they needed a workout. And now we had this amazing home workout footage that we just chopped up. And it was like bananas once we got that up. So it's really just invested in this library that we've been able to really leverage and utilize, for whatever to kind of meet the customers where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you got reasonably lucky with that timing to have actually planned to get that content already. And then lockdown happened. And obviously everyone wants that home workout. But it's that, did you have plans to use that content anyway? Well, immediate plans, I mean. Or was it just almost part of this whole, we've identified that we don't have this creative, so let's get this creative so that we can use it?
I mean, it's a little bit of both. Obviously, we want to use the creative that we should. We know creative has a certain shelf life. We have new models of the ropes coming out. So anytime that change is made, some of the creative is no longer as useful because there's an aesthetic difference to the product. So it's just not as effective. So once we shoot something, we want to make use of that as soon as possible. But no, I mean, it wasn't like, so for our product, there are many value propositions that we can hit on, and the convenience of a home workout is one of them. And we just did not have, what we thought was great creative to really showcase that. Right. So that was the driver for getting that particular creative. And yeah, it was very lucky and fortuitous that we got that at the time that we did. And then, it became our top performing creative of all time, for, not just because of what the creative was, but really it was the timing. So, for us, it's really like, how can we capture the footage that we need and then really lean on the chopping, editing side of things, to piece things together in the way we need to piece things together downstream. But it's a lot easier to do that than to have to like shoot footage. Like last year we would have been scrambling had we not had that.
Yeah. And do you plan that footage? So you almost plan it like a big campaign shoot, and you think, right, we need creative for Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We need stuff that we can use for retargeting, all the different areas of the funnel. Plan a big creative piece so that you've got the ability to chop it up, like you mentioned.
Yeah, for the most part, yes. Like we'll shoot, and we'll shoot different intros, different outros. We think ahead in terms of, hey, what are all the types of things we might want to test? Obviously, if it's from the YouTube side, you want to have as many different intro variations as you can, since that's the most important part of the video. I mean, it applies to most video platform type ads. So for us, I mean, it's really just thinking ahead. Like you said, capturing for all these different touch points. We want thinking about what it's going to look like if it's horizontal, if it's vertical, if it's square. What's the intro going to look like at these different touch points? So we think through all that, try to capture as much footage as possible to make sure we round out all these touch points, and then the real job is done on the editing side.
Yeah, cool. Cool. So what about challenges then? What are the biggest challenges you guys have been facing maybe this last year or anything that's ongoing at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say in terms of challenges, probably forecasting effectively, since 2020 was really just an anomaly year that maybe accelerated the business a few years, similar to how it accelerated e-commerce in general. What's happened over the past 6 to 9 months is, it's been really challenging to wrap my head around, both with changes in the fitness ecosystem as well as the changes within the advertising landscape. It's just made it really, really challenging to know and forecast, the month, let alone, the quarter or the year. So these are things where we're paying super close attention to trends, speaking to a lot of other e-com owners and advisors and some of our agency partners, just to get a better sense of the macro effects and what other brands are seeing. So I think, if things go up or if things come down, I'm trying to assess whether this is a macro thing and other brands are experiencing a conversion rate dip or a conversion rate bump, or is this particular to us in our space in the jump rope? So, for example, it's if you search up like home workout in Google Trends, you'll see exactly what happened and what the picture is. It's just the interest in home workout is falling back to pre-COVID levels, right? And we always knew that was going to be the case. It was just a question of over what time period was that going to happen. And now with uncertainty still with COVID and how that impacts decisions around what fitness, what fitness solution to pursue. Some people are going back to the gym. Other people have, stayed at home. Some are abandoning their home workout equipment that they invested in. Others are, continuing with the same. So just figuring out what behaviors from, that have come from 2020 are continuing in 2021, and trying to obviously, do the best we can, like every other brand, with some of the privacy changes on the advertising side. It's really just ended up, relying even more on creative. With less data, it's just focusing more and more on making sure we're really hitting on the true functional benefits and value propositions for the brand, and just trying to get really, really creative with that. And so it's been a little bit, sometimes felt like shooting in the dark, or pressing the I believe button a little bit more often than we've done in the past few years. So I'd say those two, like the advertising landscape changes, and then really trying to dial in on fitness trends and how things are settling, to aggregate that and come up with a solid forecast. That's been definitely the hardest year to do that, since last year was sort of a wash in terms of data.
Yeah, and I suppose it's one of these things where you might have already seen this and I've thought about it, but obviously, so massive spike during COVID with everyone locked down. You would obviously expect that to then drop back down once everything started opening up. People kind of desperate to go out, socialize, just do something different, right? You've been working out at home for 9 months or a year. You might be thinking, right, I'm fed up with this. I want to go back to the gym. But then possibly you might get some people who actually go back to the gym and then go, well, actually, I'm not enjoying this as much as I used to enjoy my home workout. Or maybe, people remote working or more flexible working, meaning that actually they've decided to stick with the home workout. So I wonder if we'll see things drop back down, but then maybe just come back up a little bit. Obviously nowhere near lockdown levels, but just come back a bit as people go, well, actually, maybe I do want to work out at home.
Yeah, I mean, where it all lands is your guess is as good as mine. I mean, it's really difficult to predict those types of behaviors and where things land. I think it'll obviously be somewhere in the middle. It's just a question: does it lean more towards where it was in the past, or where it sort of was forced to be last year? So it's somewhere in the middle. It's going to be, like you said, some people, what they think their behaviors have changed. Maybe they haven't. Maybe their preferences have been completely shifted, and maybe they go back to to what they were. So I think it's a little bit of a guessing game. But it ends up tying really closely to what we're forecasting in terms of for the year, and how we're making decisions on inventory type stuff and factoring in supply chain issues. And so there are a lot of complicated moving pieces. So, I mean, if there's anything that's really the biggest challenge for the year, it would be, just the implications of all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One thing I wanted to ask about was, obviously you're quite a high AOV purchase, and I suppose probably maybe quite a low repeat purchase, right? Once you've got the rope, you're kind of set. So how do you go about maximizing that first purchase?
Yeah, we're definitely a high AOV I wouldn't say low lifetime value brand. We do have other types of jump rope products that we sell to existing customers. We've got a subscription play with our CrossRope app, and with all that, we're still are laser focused on profitability on first purchase. So to me, I think it comes down to three things. I'm sure there are more, but three that come to mind. One, definitely lots of education at every stage of the funnel. Again, we spoke about it earlier. Jump rope fitness is a new category. We're sort of in this parallel. We have this parallel challenge of not only growing CrossRope as the leader of the jump rope fitness category, which we are, but also growing the jump rope fitness category itself. And so to accomplish that, there's just a lot of education involved with, explaining and inviting and incentivizing people to give jump rope training a try. It is proven to be one of the most effective and efficient workouts, compared to running and rowing and some of these other options that people have. So there's just a lot of education involved at every stage of the funnel. Why jump rope? Why jump rope fitness? Why CrossRope? Why weighted ropes? Et cetera, et cetera. So we think about that a lot in terms of how we educate at every stage of the funnel. Two would be just a really effective guarantee. So we've got a 60-day money back, no questions asked guarantee. Like we let people buy the ropes, use them for 60 days for as much as they want, any surface, like use them as however you want. And within 60 days, if you don't absolutely love them, we'll take them back in whatever condition. So we just want to make it a no-brainer from that side of things, because we know and we've proven that once you try the product, you're going to love it. You'll understand why everyone's talking about weighted jump ropes, right? It's really difficult to explain in words and even in video, but once you try it for yourself and you've got a 1 pound rope turning around the body and every muscle group is engaged to keep control of that rope, you'll realize okay, I get it now. I understand what these weighted ropes are about, and which is why we have a low return rate. And so we're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to try it, so the guarantee really helps with that. And we try to lean on it at every touch point, right? And I'd say the third one is just really maximizing and leveraging all the reviews and testimonials and great customer stories that we have. I believe when I looked last, we had about 17,000 5-star reviews. You don't have 17,000 5-star reviews if your product isn't great, if it doesn't get the job done, right? And so, all of these sort of come together to really just, hey, how can we get you to try the product, right? We know it's really difficult for you to get a sense of what it feels like, but go ahead, just try it. Use it for 60 days, use our app for free, try all the workouts, try some of the challenges that we've got live every month, try program, use some of the features. If you don't love it, if this isn't for you, or if you don't get it, hey, we'll take it back, and we appreciate you for trying it. But it's really just how do we educate at every stage of the funnel so they understand as best as possible where the value is with jump rope fitness, why it works so well. So really get them to buy in on that through showing different success stories, maximizing reviews and testimonials, and then just making it a no-brainer for them, with the money back guarantee. So that's how we maximize first purchase.
Do you ever do any sort of maybe not overly heavy, but kind of decent discounting for new customers?
Yeah, we're being a high AOV product in the premium, sort of like a premium product. We do have some room to work with on the margins to be able to offer discounts. We are really conscious of what those are. We don't want to be a discount brand, but we know, for the discounts work. So it's really just finding and striking that right balance. So yeah, we do, like, if you go on the site right now, you'll be able to save up to $50 on our bundle, which is our two weighted jump rope sets combined together to give you the full range of weighted ropes. And we know, when we've done our contribution margin and blended discount percentages, and we've looked at all the numbers and felt, that this is the best offer that we can give to customers. And so, but we're constantly looking at that. We're constantly refining that. So yeah, discounting does play a role, but I wouldn't say it plays as big of a role as it does for some other brands.
Yeah. So, use them strategically, you're careful with them. But like you said, that there's that main focus on really convincing the customer that this is actually the right product for them, and it's going to be a great product for them. And if they still don't like it, they can just send it back. Whereas,
yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of brands do get caught in that trap of almost like overly incentivizing that purchase. So the customer's not necessarily fully convinced it's the right product. They're just thinking, why not? I'll just give it a go because I've got a discount, I've got free shipping, free returns.
Yeah.
And you probably will get higher return rates because people... I mean, I know I do it, right? With certain products where I've got a great deal or something and I've made that impulse purchase and it probably sits in the box for about 10 days. And then sometimes I just ship it back because I'm not actually that interested. Might open it up, have a look. But that never happens with a product where I've been properly educated about it and I'm going, all right, this is the right thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you can write a whole PhD thesis on discounting strategies and the psychological implications of that. So, I mean, it can be a drug as a brand, as we all know. Like, we know it's going to drive conversions, whether it's going to bring you the right type of customers. That's, for every brand to sort of experiment with. I think, like you said, and especially for us, like maximizing first purchase and being profitable on the first purchase, like we're not to the type of brand that can offer a super steep discount to get a customer. Then we sort of make it up on the back end, right? To me, I mean, discounts. It's really interesting to actually look at the data sometimes. I don't know how many brands do that. Like, you can offer a great, I've seen this on Black Friday, right? You offer a fantastic discount, and there are certain people that still buy without the discount. Like, there are people who will buy without discounting. And I think brands become scared once they get hooked on the whole discounting strategy is, if we don't offer a discount, nobody's going to buy. And that's just not the case. So I think it's okay to experiment and try, pulling back on discounts. Yeah, of course, volumes are going to fall, but you might find that you end up actually being more profitable than you are when you do offer discounts. So it's really just dialing in on that contribution margin and understanding what role discounts play in the purchasing behavior. Because especially like for us, where it's not a cheap product. I mean, depends on what you're comparing it to, but it's one of the largest and the highest volume in terms of objections we get. Like, hey, it's really expensive, right? And so, there are other mechanisms for how to counter that other than to just discount. So I think it's really, I enjoy looking at other brands in my own shopping behaviors, and it's really interesting. Like, there are some brands. I bought a mattress recently, and the brand just offered no discount, but I liked the product. I thought they sold it really well, and I ended up buying it. So there are customers. Of course, we're all conditioned to look for and seek for discounts. I even messaged customer service and said, "Hey, do you guys have any discounts?" They said, "No, we don't do discounts." Like, they don't even have a coupon code.
The actual function,
field in their checkout. They just removed it. So, and I thought that was amazing. I really, really liked. I mean, as a consumer, I wish I could have saved a little bit, but as being in the e-commerce space, I thought that was fascinating. So I think just there can't be a fear. You can't feel trapped, with the discounting drug.
Yeah. Well, we had there was a story on this podcast back in one of the first episodes, actually, about how a brand discovered through email subject line testing that they didn't need to discount, and they were making about 40% more revenue by just removing the discounts. Because what they were doing was sending out, every week, here's 30% off these lines of products, here's 40% off here, and did kind of get into that fear of, if we stop discounting, we're going to lose these sales. And then the subject line testing proved that, people didn't care. People didn't want the discounts, they wanted the products. And if they're quality products, people will buy it. There are some brands, there's a really well-known supplements and nutrition brand in the UK who are well known for discounting. And it's to that point where they go heavy on it in emails all the time. I remember Black Friday last year, I probably got 20 emails in the space of a few days, just all about their sales. And I get the feeling they might be one of those brands now which does struggle if they remove the discounts, because it's not just an occasional discount that you look out for. It's, if you go to that website, you feel like you will never even accidentally purchase something full price from them.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I mean, when you look at brands like that, in the consumable space, or they're playing a different game. They're definitely not profitable on first purchase, or maybe even first couple purchases, but I'm sure they've done the math on what lifetime value a customer will bring, and for those types of brands, like the heavy promos and the high first purchase discounts may just very well work really well. Whereas for brands like ours, where, we wouldn't exist if we tried to execute the same model, right? So it's really brand dependent. And that's why I enjoy looking at what other brands are doing and just really trying to think through, what their thought process was for their discounting strategy, et cetera. And more brands are pulling back on discounts, which I think is a good move. So again, to me, it's a great example, but it's one of those where it's like that might actually work probably very well for them. If you stay on as a customer and keep getting their whey protein or whatever it might be, and they actually have a good product and a good customer experience,
I do have a feeling it's one of these spaces where once you find a product you like, you find it very difficult to switch, because you like the taste, you think it works for you, or it works for you, and you're reluctant to make that change.
Yeah.
And so potentially if they did start removing those discounts, maybe gradually, carefully, people would just stick with them because they like the product, they know the product.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I could think of other examples, but I think it's all about experimenting for what works for your brand, and really trying to put some thought and effort into that.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to touch on, NPS scores. You also mentioned reviews earlier as well, which is obviously really important, but just wanted to touch on actual NPS and how you guys use it, how you deal with the insight that you get there.
Yeah, NPS is definitely one of our core KPIs. It's something we look at on a weekly basis. We're not overly reactive on it. It's more following patterns and trends and really trying to periodically dive a little bit deeper into the different types of trends that come from that, like what are people mentioning more and more. But I'd say in terms of, how we are using it, we look at obviously passives and detractors very closely. Most detractors are handled, I'd say, immediately by our customer service staff, because more often than not, it's a customer service related issue. The passives to me, I feel like, are a bit of a gold mine. So the marketing team, we look closely at passives. These are the individuals, again, that sort of felt that there was just something missing from having an experience that was worth talking about, which is really important, right? You want people to have the type of experience with your product so that, hey, when jumping rope or let's just say, hey, somebody's talking about their workout, we want our customers to have had a good enough experience, a great experience. So they're like, oh, I got to tell you about this workout that I'm doing right now, right? We want them to So with the passives, we just want to really talk to them and figure out what was it that was missing. What are those 1 or 2 touch points? And we'll do that. We'll email them. We'll get on phone calls and really try to dissect and understand what was missing so that we can include that either in our marketing or in our product development. So that's how we look at the passives. I think that is a really great area for marketing teams to dig into, especially if you've got a high, response rate. So to us, like passives really offered some great insights. And then the promoters, obviously, you want as many promoters as possible. In terms of how it feeds into the marketing is pretty straightforward. We've gotten some of the best ad copy from our promoters. And again, what I love about these, people have had a chance to use the product. It's usually early on in their product use, so they're usually sort of getting some of their first impressions. So we've been able to really pull out some great ad copy, whether it's just a quote or a little bit of an interesting angle on a particular value proposition. So that's how we use NPS. I mean, yeah, it's a great indicator of how we're trending from a customer experience standpoint. And then each sort of serves its own way of feeding into like the marketing or product development improvements.
Yeah. And when do you collect it? Is it a couple of weeks after they receive the product?
That's right. Yeah. 2 weeks after. So I feel like, and of course, it's not going to hit on everybody. You mentioned earlier, sometimes you buy some stuff and you haven't opened the box yet. So I feel like, 2 weeks is a sufficient amount of time to open the box, download the app, and really try at least a couple of the workouts, right? It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like by now you should have a little bit of a sense of what this whole weighted jump rope fitness thing is about. And that's when we try to hit them. Hey, if they haven't opened the product, then at least it serves as a reminder to go open it.
Yeah. And I mean, what is like a low, like a kind of minimum first purchase that someone could make? Because you mentioned it's relatively expensive. So I would have thought that kind of plays into that activation piece as well, right? If you're spending a fair bit of money on something, you're probably going to want to try it pretty soon after you get it.
Yeah. I mean, based on our high response rate, my hypothesis that people generally open the package immediately or soon after receiving it. We don't get a lot of, I haven't had a chance to, open the box yet type of responses like I've seen with some or heard of for some other brands. So yeah, I mean, for us, and again, it's, our core products, we don't have a lot of SKUs. Like we've got really 3 options, which is the Get Lean set, which is sort of the lower price point, lighter jump rope combo set. And then we've got the Get Strong set, which is, you got your 1 and 2 pound ropes. So these are your heavier ropes. And then the bundle is sort of those, you purchase those 2 products together. So that's where, the majority of our purchases come from, unless we've got some other accessories and whatnot that play a part too. But to your point, those are all high price point items. And those are the customers that are receiving the NPS responses. So they're likely the ones excited, to put the ropes to use.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Was there anything else you wanted to kind of mention? Anything else you think you're doing quite like something special that you guys are doing? We kind of covered it all.
I feel like we're doing a lot of special things. I think, I don't know, the e-com space in general is just really interesting right now with all the with the shifts on the advertising side and how that is manifesting into different strategies for a lot of different brands. So I mean, for us, we're still I don't want to say overly indexed, but indexed enough on some of these paid media platforms that are becoming more and more expensive, difficult to get proper attribution, and it forces you as a brand to really, get scrappy again. So a lot of the last, this year has felt like some of the early years of Crossroads. Like, hey, if we were starting from scratch, how would we do this? What would we do? What are all the different types of sales and traffic generating initiatives that we could try, that we could pursue, that we could test? Obviously, TikTok, for example, is the one that a lot of brands are jumping on. How do we experiment? How do we try that? How do we give it a proper try before, to vet to see if it's worth adding more time, effort, and resources towards in the coming year? So for us, I mean, a lot of the really fun and interesting stuff is just like, what are some of the, can be paid, but a lot of these are like unpaid type of experiments that we can try to really like get guerrilla, get scrappy, to get, to generate brand awareness. So one of the things that we've been, experimenting with is like just product gifting, so super difficult channel to attribute any sort of revenues towards, but, who are the interesting and influential people that we can get the product in their hands. Again, once with the hypothesis that once they try it, they'll end up liking it. So one manifestation of that is, we were able to get some free UGC from Steve Aoki, just because he ended up getting the product, really liked it, started shooting some jump rope videos with it. And we know, Steve Aoki's obviously very influential and very well connected. Are we going to see a massive revenue or sales bump from that? No, but I feel like if we can get the product into the hands of the right people, kind of like Malcolm Gladwell talks about in, what was the book? Escaping me. But I'll remember it, where he talks about how ideas spread through different types of people. This is our sort of play at it. How do we get the product in the hands of interesting people and let the word spread organically? Sort of not obviously as the only play, but just another like, hey, we've got inventory that we can work with. How can we sort of use it in a strategic way to get people, to build brand awareness and get people talking about the product?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting you mentioned TikTok. I spoke to Jason Wong of Dough Lashes recently. He said TikTok, they brought someone in to manage it, didn't go particularly well, and then hired someone who basically lived and breathed TikTok. So they actually went and instead of just like a social media manager who understands TikTok, they went and got an actual TikToker. Does that sound? To run the account, and that's worked amazingly well for them. But I suppose it is a different channel, right? It's not like Instagram or Facebook where you can get that content created. You've got to be really involved there.
TikTok's fascinating. It's funny you mentioned that, because we just had a leadership meeting about last week where TikTok was on the agenda, and it's like, hey, you want to crack this thing, you pretty much have to go find a TikToker. Like, I think that was like on the, I don't think this is a social media specialist or manager type of initiative, only because the platform is so new and so different. It's centered around content and not around influencers, right? It's not the content creators, it's the content itself that people are consuming. And so, the TikTokers, the ones who live and breathe this thing, are the ones who know what the trends are and what to experiment with, and how to really create authentic and engaging content for the platform. And so, 100% agree. And I keep seeing these like TikTok job placements, for different brands. Like, people are starting to put more and more resources towards this. I don't know if these are contract positions or full-time positions. But it is really interesting to see, and nobody I'm talking to is going on the TikTok paid prospecting, train. Everybody's just going the organic route, working with content creators, bringing in people in-house to create content for them. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably, I had an episode on TikTok probably a year ago. I think it was last June, July. When they were just opening up the advertising platform to people. And they did mention that the attribution wasn't great. Some of the tracking is nowhere near as refined as something like Facebook. So
yeah, look where
obviously,
Facebook's at now.
Yeah, if you're struggling with the content side and you're struggling with that tracking attribution, it's going to be a really, really difficult channel.
Yeah.
But also, it sounds like if you can nail the organic side anyway, the content side anyway, do you need the paid side at the moment?
I mean, everything eventually gets saturated, or too expensive where it doesn't make sense anymore. So I think you just got to find that wave and ride it for as long as possible, while always allocating a small percentage of your resources towards finding that next wave. Like that's really, really what it's about. I think the big players with Facebook and Instagram and Google, et cetera, they'll be there for some time to come. I think the strategies that brands are deploying will have to change to accommodate for the rising costs and for the less data that's available to make decisions on, et cetera. I think TikTok is a great place for brands to experiment with right now. Probably won't work, for every brand. The promise of virality is always really appealing, but difficult to actually crack. YouTube advertising, I still think, is really open for brands to take advantage of. I mean, we've been trying to really crack the code of YouTube advertising for some time, and we've had a wide array of success. A lot of flops, some good performing ads. But it's a tricky one. But that is another area for us. I mean, that's a focus that still feels a little bit new and raw, even though it's been around for a little bit longer, obviously, than the TikTok platform. So that's another area. I'd encourage brands, especially ones that have seen performance, strong performance from video type creatives, right? Like that's obviously, YouTube's made for that, although it requires a little bit of a different formula than what you'd use on Facebook or Instagram, right? So that's another one we're pursuing, and I'm sure other brands are seeing success with.
Yeah, and I think obviously for a brand like yours, that video pace works really well, right? Especially if you can build in that UGC, actually show off real people using it.
Yeah,
you would have thought that's the sort of creative that would work pretty well.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, but again, it's an experimentation game all around. So you just got to keep at it. What applies to YouTube's not going to apply to TikTok, so it's sort of got to take it, different strategies. So I mean, that's the fun part about some of this of this e-com game, right? It's there's hundreds, if not thousands, of combinations that could work. You just got to try a lot of different locks until you find something that works, and then just ride that for as long as you can. But you got to keep looking for that next one. So that's where we're at right now. Just really trying to unlock those next few channels, as I'm sure a lot of other brands are with everything that's happening.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. It's been great stuff. So just really quickly before we finish, is there anyone in the kind of D2C space that you'd really want to have lunch with?
I'd say Nick Sharma, maybe. I really enjoy following and listening to anybody who has had an opportunity to take an inside look at a lot of different types of e-com brands with different business models, different price points, different strategies. So obviously he's invested in some great DTC brands and has an inside look, at what's working at these brands. So yeah, I mean, he's one of them. There's a lot of other individuals of that nature who work with multiple brands. I mean, to me, you can get a lot of amazing insights into what's working, going back to that macro concept that I was mentioning earlier. I'm super interested to know, hey, what's working in aggregate and not just for one or two brands. So Nick's one of those guys. He has a great newsletter as well, where he talks about some of these things. So I've been following him there. Yeah, probably him.
Awesome. Cool. I have to see if I can get him on the podcast.
Sure.
Cool. And just very finally then, is there any kind of marketing tool that you can't live without, like day-to-day usage?
Ooh, well, obviously you've got your obvious answers like the Shopify's and Klaviyo's. I'd say, I wouldn't say it's day-to-day. Obviously my day-to-day would be Asana. Love Asana and its ability to sort of, but I wouldn't say it's marketing based. I'd say, even though it's not day-to-day, like we use this post-purchase tool called Inquire. Not sure if you've heard of it. Yeah, it's a Shopify app that allows you to ask customers how they found out about you, amongst other questions after purchase.
I think I do. It might have been mentioned to me before, quite recently, actually. Yeah, it's that post-purchase. Like how did you find us?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a post-purchase survey, and honestly, it provides some like super insightful data on where people actually heard about you. So just as an example, like I know like with influencers, like last click type attribution, even with coupon codes, is sometimes really difficult to get perfect or get right in terms of attribution. So what might look like a really terrible, influencer campaign on the last click side or coupon side was like when we did the post-purchase survey, they were one of like the strongest performers. So it's just, this is coming direct from the customer, right? They're typing in the influencer, right? And so they're telling you where they heard about it, something that just gets lost along the way. So it just gives you another sort of, ROAS type assessment, right? And gives you another layer of data to consider when you're making a decision on, hey, where should we put our marketing dollars towards, right? So it's really changed our decisions on some things. Whereas if we looked at, platform data or last click data, we may have just written it off immediately. So I think for us, especially in today's day and age with less, with data becoming less available, here's an opportunity, super simple way to gather insights from customers on, where they heard about you. And then we use subsequent questions as well. We try to include a couple extras for those who answer the first one. And if you've got questions like, hey, what's your primary goal? So it's a great one for us. Like, why did you buy this product? What specific problem are you trying to solve? Now we've got this like amazing data directly from our customers at the point of purchase that we can use for improving marketing. So again, it's not a day-to-day thing, but I would highly recommend any D2C brand go check out Inquire. It's not super expensive, but it's going to give you some amazing data and ability to capture and get answers to some really interesting questions that you might have for your customers. And the response rate is amazing.
Cool. All right. That's been awesome stuff. Really, really interesting. It's been great learning about Crossrope. If anyone wants to reach out or just kind of follow me on social, where are the best places?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. So my full name's Srdjan Popovic, CMO at Crossrope, not too hard to find. If you want to check out the ropes, check out crossrope.com and you'll see what it's all about.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks, Serge.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers. It can be really tempting to reach out to as many influencers and affiliates as possible. But as you heard from Serge, it's definitely worth the time finding the really relevant top influencers who are going to be really excited about promoting a brand and are going to work with you on that. Community's also been crucial to Crossrope. They've built an amazing community of people, and it's not just limited to customers, which makes it a great acquisition tool. They give away plenty of free challenges. They get the community engaged. They use it to generate UGC. And all of this in turn then convinces other people this must be a good idea and they want to purchase the products. So if you've got a brand that would benefit from a similar community, it'd definitely be worth exploring and maybe even a chat with Serge, and you can find him on LinkedIn. Any other podcast questions, feedback, guest requests, please send them over to will@customerswhoclick.com or tweet me at Will Lawrenson. Next up, I've got Laura Fiatoa joining me, and we're going to be talking about how Helix Sleep has grown not just as an individual brand, but how they've actually created a group of brands to maximize customer value. But until then, keep those customers clicking.